Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. Happy New Year. And that means it's time to cast some Starcraft 2, the first of many games I'm sure I'll be casting in 2019. But no, I figured what's better than this tried and true Protoss versus Zerg. The map is Automaton, and I think I need a playlist, literally just for the games that I've casted between these two guys. They're pretty big rivals. Spawning down in the left-hand side of the map, it's puCK. And his opponent on the right-hand side of the map, it's JimRising. So these two guys, and when I say they're pretty big rivals, I mean they play each other a lot. Like if you went and looked at their match record, it's probably insane how many times these two guys have played each other. So and they're always great games, which is exactly why I'm casting it. And so I thought, yeah, we'll start off 2019 with the tried and true as far as casting Starcraft 2 goes. And yes, right now I'm literally alt-tabbing out to check the results by event between puCK and JimRising, because otherwise there's not much else going on. Well, there's this early pool coming out of JimRising. That actually is something going on, but I think we could still manage to pull up the results here. Okay, hold on, those lings are getting out, gotta get back in the game. Starting things off professional as ever, but no, puCK, he comes on in with this probe scout. Very integral part, knowing what your opponent's going to be doing. So pylon blocks because he sees the early pool. He knows that this is on the way, so of course naturally he starts up an extra pylon, a cybernetics core, chrono boosts out a zealot, and he'll likely throw something else up here. So by the time the lings get across the map, they're not going to be able to get too much done, I imagine. Okay, probes are being pulled. That's the route that puCK is choosing to deal with this. This is actually something I need to pay attention to. So a few lings are going to be trying to get on in here, but these probes, they're going to help form this wall. puCK wanted to get his Nexus up on time, not invest in like an extra gateway or anything. Then he's likely going to chrono boost out an adept behind this if I had to take a gander. And it looks like that is the case. Now, how many probes are dying to this? So far, 3 probes have died. One of the lings makes it into the main, but all the others have been cleaned on up. So puCK deals with it, takes a little bit of damage. Who knows whether you could say lose one more probe or lose one less. Really one of those situational things, but does want to kill off this one ling, and I imagine the adept will take care of that. So first adept going to pop on out, and meanwhile on JimRising side of the map, he's just really 2-basing it. Because this probe blocked his potential 3rd base expand, he's already got up his natural, not at his natural location. So puCK once again going for this pylon block, and this is actually very nice for puCK because JimRising, he actually got rid of, well, he lost his 6 lings, so he has to build some more actually just to kill off this pylon that puCK has placed down, further delaying his expansion, which is actually tremendous for puCK. And keep in mind behind this JimRising, this was a gasless rush. It's not like he went for a fast speed or anything behind this. Now, yeah, so we'll just see how this is going to develop. Not much else is going on, and guys, I'm literally curious as the zealot moves across the map. Okay, so the overall score in tournaments, keep in mind this is tournaments between these two guys. puCK and JimRising have played 14 series, or 15 series. JimRising is 15 and 28 in maps. Of course, that's in tournaments. But I mean, lately JimRising, he's beaten puCK a few times, and of course, puCK has beaten JimRising a few times. That zealot actually turned around, I guess the adept getting enough of his scout off. Stargate on the way, Oracle's on the way, and guys, these guys, like 15 times in tournaments to play someone, that's a fair bit. But the main rivalry is from the ladder. Like if you guys like go and look at replays and such that are posted, like say puCK's replay pack or whatever, you'd see a lot of replays playing versus JimRising because they're both very high up on the ladder. Okay, but adept got a bit of scouting off. Looks like it killed off a few more lings here. But JimRising, though, he finally is getting up that 2nd base, or 3rd base, however you want to look at it. And then Phoenix on the way for puCK after that Oracle. Interestingly enough, he did go for the Oracle first. I suppose that's because your opponent is already on a bit of a lower economy from investing in those early Zerglings. So So yeah, basically you want to force the earlier spores. If you can get a drone or two earlier on, it's a bigger reaction, and that Phoenix behind it will just go and clean up these overloads. But here comes the Oracle. It's going to find one drone, pops off with another quickly. No damage taken on it as well, so it should be able to find another. And it's even going to find another drone. There's another. That's 5, 6 drones. Is he going to get 7? 6 is the number that he stops at. Can this Oracle get out is the question. Gotta avoid that Spore Crawler. But oh no, the Oracle goes down. Was that as north as it could have been? But that's a bit of a shame for puCK. Now, 6 drones for an Oracle, probably a worthwhile trade. If he had gotten the 6 drones and got out, that would have been phenomenal, but I guess you take what you're given. But no, puCK making another Oracle behind this, and he's actually a player who sometimes will even make, say, more than 2, 3 Oracles. He likes his Oracles, man, but he is getting up a Robo behind this. Twilight Council as well, getting up some sentries as well, so just going to be powering up. This is a pretty quick third base, all things considered, just the way the game has gone. JimRising, his own third base isn't that late, but puCK really making a statement here that he is going to macro up. It's not like he's going for any 2-base timing or anything like that. Now, Lings are moving across the map for JimRising. Speed is going to be finishing up in just a second here, but this other Oracle flying on in shuts down a Creep Tumor, actually, pardon me. Flying around, but not going to get too much done. Can I just say that I love this Oracle skin, by the way? This is a fantastic Oracle skin. It looks like the Oracle's just like a floating rock. Look at that, just like the energy pulsing in there. That's partially because the pulsar beam was left on, but things happen. Now, Templar Archives on the way here for puCK behind this, I imagine. I wouldn't be surprised at least to see him start researching charge at some point, but for now, he is just maybe just going to be going for an Archon drop or something, if I had to take a guess. That War Prism's going to be moving out on the map, so the timings are a little bit off because of how JimRising sort of opened up this game, changed the pace of things, but as far as the way this game is heading, it's looking pretty normal for a PvZ. I would say puCK is in a pretty decent situation, though, just from the nature of the openings. He's already got his third base up. JimRising's going for a Spire behind this, though, and I can really get behind a Spire. Spires are, of course, fantastic versus Protoss players if they're caught unaware, but it's not that often you get to catch a Protoss player unaware. It's really that sort of willy-won't-y game in which a Protoss player has a Stargate, which puCK clearly has, and then the Protoss player is like, well, the Zerg, why would he make Mutalisk when I already have a Spire? All I have to do is scout it, start up a few Phoenix. But then the Zerg players are like, well, yeah, he's got a Stargate, but if he doesn't scout it. So it's always a sort of will they, won't they kind of thing with going Phoenix and with going Mutalisk, pardon me. But JimRising is a player who has been using a lot of Mutalisks lately from what I've seen of him. Now, Psystorm on the way for puCK, though. He is getting up that charge, building up that Immortal count. Going to be starting up a Forge so he can eventually get his +1. JimRising's +1 is much quicker than that of puCK, so that is something he'll have going for him. And puCK just out on the map. He's actually going to be going for a Psystorm drop from the seam of things. He's had these High Templar in this Prism a suspiciously long amount of time. Now, the main thing is, though, that this Spore Crawler is in position. These queens are getting into position. I'm not sure if puCK's going to be able to unload these, and no, he is not able to, so that gets shut down. No Archon drop, but it's also important to note that since that Spore Crawler and that Prism was shut down, has puCK been able to scout the Spire? And so far, the answer, oh yeah, he's seen it, but did he register that this is going to be Mutas? puCK's starting up 3 cannons up at the front, but none in any mineral lines, so maybe puCK saw the Spire, but he didn't really register it, because getting caught off guard by 9 Mutas is going to hurt pretty much no matter what, unless you've got Phoenix. Now, JimRising, he's moving out on the map with his Lings and whatnot, with his Roaches, but suddenly these Mutas are going to be flying on in. They see this Prism and the High Templar, they're going to bait out Storm, actually picks off both of them, which is fantastic. Now, JimRising, he's committing on. I guess he wants that Prism, wants those High Templar, forcing Archons to morph, but so many of the Mutas died. There's 6 Mutas, and in the end, he did only get 2 High Templar, so that happened so fast, and that was such a ballsy move, but I don't think it paid off. Say, if he had gone to the main base where there was only a handful of Stalkers, or, yeah, just bounced around the bases killing workers, JimRising, he probably could have got a lot more. Mutas flying in, but they are done. There goes all 9 Mutas have now been popped off. Fantastically done by puCK cleaning that up. Now, JimRising probably feels like he has to do something. He's committing in with his Roaches, but yeah, he's just trading out with all these Zealots that have been warped on in. They're all going to be going down. Now, behind this, though, JimRising is building up an army. He's getting up a high Hydra count on top of Mutus, like most Zergs anyway. I don't know if this is really that specific to JimRising. JimRising likes his Hydralisks. Nerfed or not, he is a player who makes a lot of them at times, and he's actually got a very good sort of macro play. So when he's producing Hydras, he's making a lot of Hydras. So JimRising on 90 drones going to be doing just that. Hydras, roaches on the way. Getting into that +2 as well, by the way, so he will have an upgrade advantage depending on when he fights. And also getting up an Infestation Pit as well. This is why I wanted to cast these guys. This was looking like it could build up into sort of a really epic game here. Now, JimRising moving across the map with a small section of units, just going to be looking for some harassment. But puCK, a High Templar, a few cannons, and an Immortal. I don't know if you're going to be getting in there with any sort of harassment, so I love this defense from puCK. And JimRising, though, still going to be looking to get something done. A small section of units sort of being a distraction here as JimRising comes into the north, so we could be seeing some Side Storm drops, and we do. Now, JimRising coming in from multiple angles, but Side Storm's being blanketed down on all the angles here. There's actually not that much bulk for puCK. He's got a lot of High Templar still fighting away. The High Templar are actually using their auto attack there. Pardon me. Let's take a look. That's my New Year's resolution. Okay, it's called a Psy Blast. That 5 damage High Templar attack. You learn new things every day, but okay, this is a move I love from JimRising. He's building 5 dropper loads here, so he's going to be able to just drop an absolute ton of units into puCK's face, and if puCK gets caught off guard by this can really hurt a Protoss player. Now, puCK still does have 1 recall saved up, so, and well, he's got his recall because he hasn't used it, but, I mean, like, it still can be tough to react to something like this. I really like the fact that JimRising is looking at doing this. This is something that can really pull a Protoss player apart. You got to look for ways to crack that nut. Now, puCK, he's moving out with his handful of Phoenix, maybe looking for something, but not going to find much. They'll find an Overlord, but not the Overlords just yet anyway. Or no, is this Overlord's not going to betray, is he? No, okay, these Overlords are still flying under the radar. JimRising's poking and prodding. This small group of Hydras has been revealed, but that's not all of the Hydras. So puCK's just seeing like a small section of them. Maybe he's thinking, where's the rest of your army? But all of a sudden it's going to be dropping inside of puCK's main base. And here it comes. Let's see, a lot of units loaded up. There's these cannons, but JimRising is going to unload. I don't think 2 cannons is going to be up to the task. This Forge could actually be vulnerable here. Now, puCK does recall, so this army could be in a bit of trouble. We'll see if JimRising's able to focus anything down, but no, he doesn't get anything. This army really just melts. I think he may have gotten a few High Templar there, but puCK, with that recall, that powerful tool, manages to deal with it. Now, JimRising, though, is pushing on in towards the 3rd base. Could be getting a bit of damage in here, but these Archons and Immortals and Zealots are hot in pursuit. JimRising focuses down 2 of the Archons, so at least he's getting something, but he does bleed off a lot of supply there. And all those dropper lords were also killed off as well. Now, JimRising, with that strong economy, with that practically 90 drone economy, he's remaxed. He's in the process of it. 33 Hydras on the way. The madman cannot be stopped. Look at that. 5 more dropper lords started up right away. And look at that. He builds 5 more overlords as well, just to make sure he doesn't get supply blocked. Now, puCK's moving out. Figures maybe he had the right opportunity after killing off that army, but JimRising is going to have up a lot of Hydras right now. The one thing that I'd maybe like to see in JimRising's composition is a few Banelings or something like that, just to try and really crash into puCK if he decides to take a fight. But while this is going on, JimRising, he's also getting up his melee attack, so Lings maybe are a possibility. But the main story right now is the Broodlords. puCK's got to deal with these somehow. JimRising, he's invested in a lot of Hydras, but behind this, he has also got up his Greater Spire. And JimRising's coming from multiple angles now, nabs up that Oracle, and he's also, puCK's gonna have a tough time pushing in here, and once the Broodlords are fully popped, it's gonna be very, very tough for puCK to crash in here, and he's gonna need something that's gonna be able to deal with these Broodlords. We see he's getting Blink, which is sort of like the, alright, yeah, I've got some anti-air, but taking on Broodlords with just Stalkers is always risky. High Templar can sometimes help out. puCK actually taking a pretty nice fight there down on the bottom right, and most of the Hydras have actually fallen now. So that good Psystorm really cleaning these out. Psystorm now dropping on top of the Broodlords, on top of the Hydras, as JimRising sort of underestimated this army of puCK since he's got Broodlords. Transfuses are being dumped onto these Broodlords, but puCK is blinked on top of them. He's volleying down these Broodlords right now. If there's just one of them left, there's none of them left now. JimRising, he's popped squeezing out 26 more Hydras on the way. I mean, his supply isn't that bad, but can he consolidate enough? The Hydras, or the Stalkers, pardon me, are not actually that good versus Hydras at this stage. These 2-1 Hydras are doing pretty well versus just these Stalkers. So a significant portion of puCK's army is not actually that great versus this. Now JimRising, he's coming in with a vengeance. There's no High Templar with Storm, it seems. Yeah, not quite enough energy, so JimRising able just to trade out, and this is where his army really excels. These Hydras, very good in straight up fights. The Immortals are falling back. Zealots have been warped in. There we go, that'll help buffer. Really closes the distance. The Hydras put out a lot of damage, but they are weak, so that's why Zealots are really good at cleaning them out. Now, if we look at this, puCK was actually going for a counterattack, trying to get on top of that Greater Spire, and he may actually be able to get it. It's going to be close, and he does manage to pick it off, so suddenly JimRising pretty much just making Hydras like he was before, but JimRising, he did lose a base while this was going on, but he is going to have +3 attack for his Hydras, so that'll help out. puCK, on the other hand, getting up shield upgrades, so that's going to benefit his Archons. Now, puCK, though, he's still in a pretty good spot. It seems JimRising losing that base, losing the Greater Spire, and practically mining out a lot of his locations. His economy is no longer that 90 drone, very high income that it once was, so we'll see what he's able to get done. These Overlords are flying on over, but I'm not sure that JimRising is going to be able to get anything done here. We'll see. Now, puCK dropping Psystorms left and right. He's got up a fair few more High Templar here, so really good for beating these Hydras, because if JimRising, say, manages to dodge... Oh, actually catching an Immortal, hold that thought. If JimRising manages to dodge the Psystorms, the Hydras don't fare badly versus this army of puCK, and here we see JimRising trying to pull puCK out of position. puCK's actually going to recall part of his army to this base now. Hydras are being forced to retreat, and he is going to be running now. Okay. JimRising, got to be careful not to get caught out. These Hydras are very softened up. A lot of Zealots are being picked off. Psystorms going down, but there's not too many more Psystorms here for puCK. puCK, once again, going to try and push it in, but it is very tough to push on in to a Zerg who's really preempting your Psystorms. A JimRising just moving really far forward, though. That might have been a bit of a misclick, though, going up that ramp, not expecting puCK to be so in his face. puCK, I mean, he's got a strong army here, but he may need to warp in some Zealots, really, to reinforce this. He's got the money, so he definitely can do that. puCK with 1,600 minerals in the bag. If that was 16 Zealots right now, JimRising would be in a lot of trouble, but still, these players are sort of just duking it out, testing the waters here. puCK definitely in the lead at this point in this game, though. Just equal army supply with the Zerg. Very, very good for a Protoss player. These Psystorms now coming in. puCK, he's got a fair few more High Templar coming forward. JimRising eating some nasty storms now. He's coming forward right now. puCK, a lot of his units are going down. This is actually kind of crazy how JimRising is able to push this back. And look at this, JimRising stepping forward, picking off units left and right now. That Prism gets falling down in the sunlight. Wow, JimRising able to clean that up. That was actually very impressive for him. I was kind of worried. Equal supply versus a Protoss when he's got Psystorm in his arsenal is never a comfortable thing, but JimRising doing very well for himself. And puCK is rebaxing. He's got some, or rebuilding, I guess. He's got some Stalkers, but I mean, Warping and Stalkers at this point, they're kind of dead weight. So it's a very good thing for puCK that he killed that Spire, so he doesn't have to be forced in to make any more. But he's still got to be very concerned, because just with these Hydras, JimRising has been doing very well for himself. And now he's getting into Infestors. Infestors had a little bit of a resurgence ever since the small sort of tweaks that they got. Their model's a little bit smaller. Their infested Terran range is a little bit longer. Fungal units can no longer be lifted up, say, in a Warp Prism. I believe they can still be recalled if they're fungal, but don't quote me 100% on that. Now, puCK, he's going into Tempest because of that Broodlord factor. He does have to be prepared for this. He's moving out on the map. But once again, puCK's army, it's not looking too strong. While it's very high value, it's really pretty much all in these High Templar. Like 2 Archons and a handful of Zealots. Not going to get the job done without a lot of Psystorm backing him up. But JimRising, he's managed to get into these Infestors, and they are a powerful spellcaster, sort of to rival these High Templar. Of course, it's always that game of feedback in Psystorm versus each other, I guess. But now we're seeing JimRising going to be going for another drop. puCK moving around on the map still. He expanded to the north here, and he's got a very good cannon wall defense. So this is a very, very, very secure base. But Now JimRising sort of setting his sights south. Good Psystorm goes off in a lot of Zerglings, but puCK's going to have to deal with this drop here. And this base he's taken down to the bottom sort of center is going to be in a lot of trouble. Zealots are working away on a base to the right. Both of these players having a bit of trouble to secure expansions, it looks like. If puCK kills off this hatchery, that'll be very nice for him. JimRising, I mean, his economy is not going to last at this point. If he loses this base, like, it's going to hurt. Now, a few Hydras being unloaded to work away on this Nexus. The rest of them are going to fly. And there's a fair few cannons up. There's a High Templar. Can drop a Psystorm. It needs to drop that Psystorm. It actually goes down. puCK's attention is elsewhere. Zealot run by heading towards JimRising's sort of center base, and that's one of his last mining bases here. Meanwhile, puCK deciding to put it in, but there's lots of Infestors here dropping Fungals. So puCK's actually going to opt to retreat. Maybe going to Psystorm to cover his retreat. But puCK's taking a bit of a beating. He's actually forced to recall now to this location. But there's actually not that much recall. Like, what, 2 Archons showed up? The Tempest actually fighting in this fight here. Archons doing the best they can. Zealots will be able to clean this up. Now, yeah, we're seeing JimRising took a fair bit of a beating here. He still has this one mining base. puCK's expanding to the north here is so risky. Like, this is a stone's throw away from JimRising's base. Like, the new Infestor, it could probably throw Infested Terran from JimRising's base pretty much to puCK. So now carriers are on the way for puCK, so he's going to be transitioning into that sort of big air fleet. The efficiency or the effectiveness of this sort of fleet is still up in the air after the recent patch. And that's something I'm very interested in seeing as to how this is going to play out in, say, upcoming tournaments and whatnot. But traditionally, it was generally that Protoss had the superior late game to Zerg. We saw that in early Legacy of the Void. Players like Neeb would have 10,000 minerals in the bank, or would be building up into Tempest, where Zergs would rapidly try and crash on into them with limited success. But after some tweaks, say the Viper, very effective. The High Templar nerf really helps out Zerg's dealing with that late game, and then of course the Infestor. So it's up in the air as to who's going to win in an ideal late game situation if they can build up that sort of army that they want. JimRising still sharking around, by the way. Going to be going for another Overlord drop. That's one way to transport your units instead of walking, but here they go. They're going to be able to start unloading wherever they choose, just right at this base. Once again, puCK not really focusing on this location for the time being. He's been worried about defending his north. He's even mining at this gold base now to supplement his income, but we're seeing Zealots working away on this hatchery. Once again, both these players just hitting each other's economies so hard. puCK does need to deal with these Hydras, pardon me, though. Should be seeing some Psystorm drop. One High Templar gets picked off. There goes some more Psystorm, but puCK still keeping this location alive. However, his attempts to expand to the right have been shut down, but he's still continuously harassing JimRising here. JimRising's base, like, he may honestly just want to abandon this base at this point. puCK's just been hitting it so hard, so often. Zealots now moving to this location in the bottom right. These players are both just expanding, but hitting each other so often, so hard. And if we look at it, the supply is dead even pretty much. These guys certainly are a match. Now, puCK, he's sort of got away with having this expansion to the right. JimRising does not know about it, and you generally wouldn't expect your opponent to expand within, say, I don't know, 15 range of each other, 10, 15 range. But puCK continuously harassing with these Zealots, but JimRising has managed to keep this base alive, which is so, so important for him. These Zealots, they're going to trade out with some Hydras, and not terribly. So at least getting something done for him, but JimRising finding that is very important for him. JimRising's now getting a +2 melee attack. And the main thing is, JimRising, he has not decided to go back into Corruptors. He's not rebuilt his Spire, if we look at that, but he's built an Ultralisk Cavern. So he's really going to be relying on that ground tech, and Ultras can be very effective. But we'll see if he actually ends up making any of them. Both these players not on a super income. Nothing bad, particularly when you look at how many Zealots puCK can afford to warp in. He's going to be going for a massive Zealot warp in now. Well, this is what, like 13 Zealots going to be crashing into these Hydras. We'll see how this works out. I think the Hydras are going to be able to take this. They're +3 choose through these Zealots pretty darn quickly. Now, JimRising, though, I mean, he's going to be attacking into these Ultras, but he does only have that +1 Carapace, so his units won't be too tough if he does decide to go for these. He hasn't got chitinous plating, so really no massive indication that he wants to go for that. Just got it in his back pocket. He's getting Neural Parasite, though, for future Infestors. And here we go. He's got his Lings running in here. puCK's warping in a lot of Zealots to try and save this Nexus that he's not even really mining at, but if you can take the fight, why not? Now look at this. puCK's pushing into the right. JimRising going to be losing his gold base from the looks of it. Oh my god, those hatcheries, they actually burst into flames. Those Mecha Zerg skins, I love it. Now, JimRising going to be continuously pushing in multiple locations. Hydra's coming on in, Ling's going to be able to buffer, so these Zealots not able to cut it for the defense. JimRising really just saying, alright, you killed my base, I'm going to hit you with everything I got now. And suddenly, JimRising really taking the fight to puCK once again. These players have just been bouncing around this map so long, just back and forth here. puCK, he's built up this carrier army, 7 carriers, definitely a force to be reckoned with. Going to have the +2, which will really help him out. Now, there's his High Templar trailing behind a very important part of this army. JimRising looks like he's retreating back north. puCK once again harassing this hatchery. It's going to go down. JimRising, I don't think it's worth rebuilding it here, as there's about 500 minerals here. I don't think there's 300 on a hatchery, and a mined out gas is really worth it. 6 vest speed in that one, so I think JimRising really got to set his sights on defending other locations at this point. puCK even made himself an Oracle again, which I definitely love. Very effective for dealing with Infestors, just because they're always lurking underground. This Oracle could be in a bit of trouble, though, if these Infestors grab it. Not going to do that, but... oh, there we go. Look at that. JimRising now has his own Oracle, and he even tries to reveal on puCK's army. Doesn't quite get it, but that's always cute when Zerg players do that. Now, puCK forced to make another Oracle, but he's still mining at this base to the north, and this base has been puCK's lifeline. JimRising's probably wondering, like, okay, you've got to be running out of money soon. Look at this, JimRising even expanding down south, but no, puCK, this base to the north has actually been so critical for him. He would have mined out a long time ago. JimRising trying to expand 2 locations here. This base to the bottom right is very important for him, but the fact that both these guys have been able to keep going for so long is so impressive. They're both managing to keep an economy on. They're both almost even approaching maxed out with these very strong armies. Now, puCK's or JimRising's Infestors, got to be careful not to lose them. Now, it really is going to come down to these Infestors, though, in this fight. Photon cannons on the way for puCK. Lots of shield batteries going to be securing even just the mid-map here. Really locking this down. This is actually absurd how many cannons puCK has built here. Just got High Templar saying, you know, even a gateway for fast warpins. That's something you don't see every day, but a fight going down here. It's like, oh, puCK did a bit of a recall, I guess. Recalled some interceptors. Now, okay. puCK's still sharking about with his army. He's down on supply, though. He's got these carriers. He's got these High Templar. JimRising's army is revealed, though. Good Psystorm being dropped for puCK. It's really going to come down to this one fight, it seems, and puCK just dropped in so many Psystorms. More Tempest on the way here for puCK. Or at least some Tempest on the way. He's got 1 for now. He's even getting up a Dark Shrine, which I definitely love. JimRising. He does have Overseers with his army, though. puCK was trying to take those gases, but that's not happening. JimRising's moving in on puCK, though. And oh my god. This game is ridiculous with the base swapping here. JimRising wanting to push into this location, but with a few cannons and High Templar, that really stalls the Zerg player pushing in. But puCK's losing a lot of workers now. He's deciding to take some bases of his own, and we notice he killed off JimRising's gold base. JimRising really shut down the mining on his, so he's taking JimRising's now. That's actually just ridiculous. Now, JimRising's still sharking about. Both these players looking for a good opportunistic fight. It is tough for JimRising to try and push on into puCK. He's got all these cannons here, but he's going up this ramp now. This is very risky versus a Protoss with Psystorm. You don't want to be choked up. So JimRising is going to be looking for more of an open engagement. He's pushing in with all of these Hydras. They are so clumped up, though. JimRising is opting to retreat. His Infestors are in wait, though. Lots of Neural Parasite going down on the carriers of puCK, so those are no longer under his control. JimRising going to be able to pop those off. His Infestors getting out. Just so much efficiency here, and puCK's army seems to be crumbling. A lot of his carriers are in trouble now. Just everything has been Neural Parasited. JimRising has his own air fleet. we're seeing JimRising's army has fallen a little bit, though. puCK's Tempest may be able to get out of there. Nope, they all get nabbed on up, and JimRising can just pop those off now. puCK has tried to remax here, but he lost a lot of his army. JimRising lost a lot too, but this is actually such a crazy game between these two. puCK, despite losing all of this, he built up a fair bit of a bank, so he's able to remax. He's not out of it just yet. Warping in 7 DTs somewhere. Where are those 7 DTs? Where are they? Come on. Show me the DTs. Ah, there they are. 7 DTs. JimRising spaces are going to be in a lot of trouble. This is the part in which Protoss sends one to every location. Some DTs heading down to this base, and this is really going to hit JimRising's economy hard. I mean, suddenly both these players have gone from being maxed out with a pretty notable bank to having probably none in the future. A few Zealots even warped in for good measure, but this base to the right going to be shut down. It's almost mined out, but puCK just is going to be trading out with these DTs. Never focus down the base, so these will all be cleaned on up. This one DT working away on here, but JimRising, he burrowed his drones. He kept a fair few of them alive. This one DT at this location, though, picking off a fair few more workers. There's actually 2 DTs, pardon me, but this really pulled JimRising apart. This gave puCK a lot of time. But the economy of puCK, still not that great. As, I mean, he's really just got this base to the north, but even that's starting to mine out. But JimRising's economy not great either. It's just going to come down once again to another big fight. Who's able to take it? Now, puCK, he's got 9 High Templar, which you can really respect. Building up some more Tempest. But you wonder whether Tempests are the right call versus like Mass Hydra, Mass Infestor. Only time will tell. Both these players are approaching max out. puCK warping in another DT, attempting to go for some harassment. He knows that JimRising has these bases that are somewhat fresh on his side of the map. puCK's now moving out though. Sort of with his ragtag team of units, Stalkers, Zealots, Tempest, backed by a lot of High Templar. Queen gonna get caught out. Every unit matters here, of course. A nice find there for puCK. He's stepped on a creep, he's cleaned up a fair bit, but he's actually looking for a fight now. Psystorm goes down, but a lot of these Zealots have now been fungled. puCK actually opts to recall him. Will he save a single one? He saves like a Zealot by doing that, of course. Efficiency matters, and speaking of efficiency in this game, the resources lost. JimRising behind, but in the grand scheme of things, not behind a ton. 7k resources. That's a lot in a game of Starcraft 2, but when both players have lost 60,000 plus, it's not a massive amount. So I'm not even sure what to make of that, particularly when these players are really mining on each other's side of the map. For now, JimRising does have the more promising economy in the long run. But it's still at that point in which it really will come down to this one fight here. And so we wait for that one fight to occur. JimRising moving south once again. He's probably the player that's content sitting back and mining for now. As puCK's economy, it's not that great here. Or it won't be great that long, because he is going to start mining out much, much sooner than JimRising, who has these 2 more or less fresh bases. puCK's Oracle's moving out. I don't think that's going to achieve much greatness there as it gets shut down. We're seeing Zealot Stalkers move forward. Fungal growth goes down. One of the Zealots just escapes there, but it is really going to come down to this one fight. I think puCK may need to build another Oracle here and then just try and reveal the Infestors and maybe go for it. He's really baiting JimRising into a fight here, though, using that Tempest range, but JimRising's coming down. Neural Parasite's going down on everything. We need to see a lot of Psystorms dropped, and we are seeing so many Psystorms dropped, actually wearing through those Infestors, so puCK regains his army. More and more Psystorms being dropped on all of these Hydras. JimRising's army is falling. More Psystorms going down. These players have pretty much just traded out, but no, puCK actually manages to do it in one fast engagement. JimRising went for it, but oh my god, that was such a crazy way to end the game. Hold on. Okay, let's see. Wait, a little bit further back. This was a long game, guys, but we're just gonna take one last look at that final fight here. Doo-doo-doo. Yeah, I think it really was the Psystorm, though. JimRising, like, Infestor's pretty good when they can get out all their spells, but I'm not sure he really managed to get them all out, whereas puCK was dropping those storms left and right, even killing off Infestors with them before they were able to get up all their damage. So here we go. JimRising decided to go down with his Infestors, but puCK had a pretty good spread, and just the Tempest able to stay alive. Look at that, all that Psystorm going down up there. Once those Infestors were dead, JimRising was in a lot of trouble, and there was just so much Psystorm going down for puCK, and JimRising tried to make it happen, but he could not. So GG, puCK manages to take it. That crazy game, and that is why I cast puCK and JimRising a lot on my channel. But yes, thanks so much for those of you that have stuck to the end of this game. It was worth it though. But yes, I hope you guys did enjoy the content. If you did like this epic game, feel free to hit that like button. It shows me that, you know, you like the content. Otherwise, if you're new to the channel and you stuck around, I'm pretty sure that means you should be hitting that subscribe button. Otherwise, I shall see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.